I don't have a lot of time today. I have a hearing in about 20 minutes. So I'll be logging off in about 20 minutes. So whatever I can get through today, I will get through. Welcome. Good morning. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. My name is Aisha Chidole. So I'm an immigration lawyer here in Atlanta, Florida. I present clients all over the United States with their immigration, nationality issues. So family immigration, marital immigration, humanitarian-based cases like VAWA, TU visas, appeals and naturalization and all that good stuff. Good morning, Morfast. Good morning, Simone Thompson. Good morning. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Franca Addo, good morning. To schedule a consultation, make sure you call 407-995-6567. You can also call 678-325-1037 or send a message to WhatsApp 404-333-8751. We didn't take calls on our WhatsApp number, but you can use the other two numbers. Good morning. Inquele, good morning. Good morning. I'm going to see if you guys have questions. Otherwise, I'm going to talk about marriage-based interviews today, just because we've been getting so many, and just because, I want to make sure that you guys are prepared and understand like what happens in a marriage-based application. Nana says, good morning. My first time, but heard so much good things about your law firm. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. So guys, I want to talk about marriage-based cases and just, preparing for interviews. The last 2 years, I'll say since 2023 or late 2022, where we saw a lot of interview bypasses, meaning like a lot of cases were approved without interviews. So much so that I think a lot of people are not prepared or don't know what they need to have for interviews and since I'm doing so much interviews, like when I tell you, like I am doing interview preps on a daily basis, like there's just so many interviews, just some observations and things that I think that most of you who file for marriage-based cases need to know. So the first thing is when you are filing a marriage-based application, you want to make sure you send any and everything that you have that connects you to your partner. From a strategic sense, the things that you want to look at is what connection do you guys have financially, right? You want to look at matters of the heart. You want to look at matters that show that you guys cohabitate together. If you don't cohabitate together, do you have a logical explanation as to why you're not cohabitating? For example, if you say we don't live together because I don't like her apartment, she lives in this small apartment or whatever the case may be, but you live in the same city, that is not a logical explanation. A logical explanation would be, i.e., I'm here on an H-2B visa. My program is in Colorado. I don't want to violate my immigration status. My spouse has a good job in Atlanta, so she doesn't want to leave and move to Colorado because it's a temporary job. And I don't want to move until I finish my program here, or at least I get status elsewhere, so I don't violate my status. In that case, that would be an example of someone who has come here with an H-2B, which is like a temporary work visa, that would have a logical explanation. I mean, there are many different examples of logical explanations, but I'm just giving you guys one as an example. When I talk about financial entanglement, what am I talking about? I'm talking about how are you and your spouse entangled? When USCIS is looking at your application, the person that should have most skin in the game is the US citizen. Because if all the bank accounts are just showing the immigrant being the one depositing money, showing the immigrant being the one spending the account, showing the immigrant being the one paying for the insurance, showing the immigrant being the one putting and footing all the bill, you can see how immigration will assume you're doing all this because it is for you, right? It is for you to get your legal status, and your spouse is not really a part of this process. So it is very important that if you are married to a U.S. citizen, that your U.S. citizen is bearing some skin in the game. For example, people sometimes would say to me, when I say, do you have insurance? They would say, I have, we have life insurance. And I say, well, how much is your life insurance? How much do you pay a month? And like, oh, we pay like $20 a month, and life insurance is like for, $25,000 or $50,000. That's not skin in the game. To me, like if you are putting life insurance, like you literally need to have like you cannot have less than $250,000 to make it make sense, right? Where there's a monthly expense that's going to be paid by both parties, where both parties feel it. Health insurance is a much stronger evidence of insurance than life insurance. Why? Because it requires, and if that health insurance comes from the US citizen spouse, that is a +1 for your application. Why? Because we all know that with health insurance, they are going to be deducting that money from your paycheck. What screams love and wanting to spend your life together, other than willing to be sharing your financials with your significant other, right? Especially you as a U.S. citizen, because again, as an immigrant, you might be willing to do all that because you want to get a green card, right? But for the U.S. citizen, your spouses have to have skin in the game to show that this is a meaningful relationship to them and they want to be in this relationship. One area that I know many people have a challenge with is if like they married someone who already had like a property, and that person has not put them on the deed. With those, that's fine because, deeds are really complex and complicated. So I can see how that can be difficult, but find other ways in which you guys can entangle your lives together, right? If you have bank accounts should not be dormant. Like it shouldn't just be one person's direct deposit, going in there. It should be both of your deposits going in there. Both of you should be spending that account. If you guys have bills that you're paying for, like use your bank accounts for some of them. If you guys are saving money for like something, use your bank accounts to show what you're saving the money for. And then, when you do submit your application, understand that that is not the end of the process. Your application stays active until you get approved. What do I mean by that? You should continuously continue to organically accumulate things as spouses while your application process is going through, because let's say you got married in May and you submitted your application in June, you're not going to have as much as you're going to have by next June. So when you come to that USCIS interview, they're fully expecting to see more stuff from you. So you want to continue, you want to have more of those bank statements, right? You want to have letters from friends and family that know you guys and know that your relationship is genuine. And understand this, you cannot have generic affidavits. You cannot have someone saying, oh yeah, I know Jane and Jack, they're a wonderful couple, and I wish them a lifetime of happiness. They're just so in love. Like that is generic. Like if someone is writing an affidavit for you, and this applies to any kind of immigration petition, by the way, they have to really explain how they know either you or your spouse, what part of your lives they've been a part of, whether it's via observation, via phone calls, via in person, what the assessment is of your future, but it has to be detailed. Like the more examples you give of your lives together in the affidavits or their lives of what they've seen with you, the better for you. And then let's see, what else, am I seeing? So yeah, so by that 1 year mark, like you shouldn't be saying, well, we don't have anything else to submit. And sometimes people say, well, we don't really do anything, like, we don't really take pictures. We don't really do this. We don't really do that. On a normal basis, that's okay. If you choose not to do anything with your relationship, you don't want to go on dates, you don't want to hang out. But understand that if you are applying for an immigration benefit and you're saying that somebody is your spouse, you have to understand that the person, that's the officer who's reviewing your case, doesn't know you guys personally. So what can you give the officer to show the officer that truly you have a genuine relationship? So that's how you have to get over those hangups of we don't do this, we don't do that. Because if you are not doing that, what else can you use to convince them that your relationship is a genuine relationship? And then for the interview day, I cannot stress or overstate the fact that you need to be prepared. You know, in this time and age in administration, like, first of all, if you're not using a lawyer, good luck to you. That's number one. Because my clients will tell you, like the ones that I've been in interviews with, you know, how grateful they were that a lawyer was with them there, advocating for them, because you just never know what you're going to get with an officer, like whichever the officer is. You know, they tell you to answer a question, you answer the question, they switch over to the next question, or say, don't answer this, I didn't ask you that, or I didn't ask you that. And you need an advocate who can step in for you and say, you know, you answer that question. So either you want her to finish the question, or do you want us to give you the evidence, right? To make sure that you have the evidence and the answer to that question. Like, so there are many things that can trip you up in an interview. So it is really important that you are preparing before the interview. You really need to know your partner, and your partner needs to know you. You can never assume that they will not separate you in an interview. You should always assume you'll be separated. You know, my mantra with my clients is, I will rather that you're so over-prepared and you know each other so well that when you go into that interview, it's like, oh, that was easy, you know, as opposed to you going in there and saying, holy cow, like, wow, I wish I knew, you know, what color your toothbrush was. You know, even though it's something so minute, like, you just never know what you're going to be asked. So you really need to be prepared for those interviews, you know. So yeah, that's a quick summary, because I'm trying to go really fast because I need to log off in like the next 6 minutes. Because as I said, I have a hearing. So I saw someone saying, please, can you just answer some questions? So I will answer some questions. Someone said, is it okay to travel abroad with a 2-year green card? The answer will depend. As long as you do not have any removal proceedings that is open, that wasn't terminated when you got your green card, or you don't have any kind of criminal records or felony that's of recent or that was not disclosed or happened after, typically you'll be fine, you know, to travel. Just make sure you carry all your documentation, okay? If you submit a valid application and receive your prima facie, but didn't submit your application for work permit, can you submit now? So the submission of a work permit is not based on receiving a prima facie determination letter for VAWA cases. The submission of a work permit is determined by your eligibility to file for adjustment of status. So if you filed for VAWA based on you being the spouse of a U.S. citizen, the child of a U.S. citizen, and you're under the age of 21, or the parent of a U.S. citizen who's over the age of 21, typically you'll be eligible to file for adjustment of status, which is the I-485. And if you file for the I-485, at the same time, you can file for the work permit and get it before your VAWA approval, because otherwise you won't get a work permit until your VAWA is approved, which is, you know, 2 to 3 years out, okay? If you were married to an LPR, which is a green card holder, it will all depend on the visa bulletin. The good news is that the visa bulletin has significantly moved up since, you know, for May. I checked yesterday, so we've not yet seen June. So basically, any case that any I-130, if you were married to an LPR, like a green card holder, before you filed for VAWA, and that person filed an I-130 for you before February of 2025, you most likely will be eligible to file for your adjustment of status now. Even if you already filed your VAWA, you can file for your adjustment of status and your work permit now. Also, if you already filed your VAWA, you know, and you filed it, let's say you filed your VAWA and, you know, nobody ever filed an I-130 for you, whatever. But you filed it before February and your receipt date is before that February 2025 date, you can do your adjustment of status and work permit now. So if that is you, you know, this is a good time to get your 485 in, to get your work permit in before those dates go back. So chop, chop. All right. Okay, let's see. What other good questions do we have here? Is there any reason why the consulate will say they're not accepting any applications, even though they've been approved, specifically in Nigeria? Well, you need to be specific. What are they not accepting? But speaking of Nigeria, the good news is that, as I'm sure you guys know, since June of last year, they were not processing fiancé visas after the first part was approved in the US. But as of right now, and all our clients that were in limbo, then we've started getting notifications that they've moved their cases over to NVC, not to NVC, to the consulate, which is good. So it means that they've started back up processing. So you might want to check in on that. Okay. Can I apply for citizenship after 3 years? A valid green card despite being separated from my U.S. citizen spouse? Yes, you can. As long as, because you got your green card through VAWA, you can. Hi, attorney. I went for my citizenship and was approved. I see on the current status, oath ceremony will be scheduled. What does it mean? And how long will I have to wait for my ceremony to be scheduled? Congratulations. That's amazing. It means that they're going to schedule you to come in to take your oath of allegiance in the United States and get your certificate of citizenship. I can't really give you a timeline because this is based on each field office and their availability, but it's not usually too long, maybe like 30 days or 45 days out. So hopefully you should get your letter in the mail, because if it says will be scheduled, it may not have been scheduled yet. Oath being scheduled, you receive, like, we've sent you a notification that your oath has been scheduled. So, but somewhere within the vicinity. Okay. Okay, let me see what else I can take on. Sonison, God bless you, my attorney, for all you do for humanity, helping people, changing lives. I'm extremely proud of you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Do that. After getting my 10-year green card through VAWA, can I join the Army? Absolutely, and that's also going to fast track your citizenship. Okay. What is the current time frame to receive a receipt after filing for I-751 application? Honestly, right now, well, it depends. What kind of I-751 did you file? Did you file one with the filing fee or without a filing fee? Meaning, did you file one based on abuse, or did you file one based on whatchamacallit, on any of the other grounds? What is happening right now with USCIS is that we're seeing over 100-day delay in receipt notices for any humanitarian case or any case basically that doesn't have a filing fee. You know, this is this has been published. You know, AILA is aware of this. They're working with USCIS to see what's going on. What we've started doing right now is that any case that we have over that 100-day, we are reaching out to the hotline just to understand when we can expect a receipt. We don't know what and if it would yield quicker, but we're certainly trying to do that because 100 days is really unreasonable. In 2023, they basically had a rule where it says, 30 to 60 days should really be the timeline, but now everybody, so it's not unique to any of you here, it's everybody. If there is no filing fee associated, because, they want to get the money, so they're going to be cashing and processing those ones. But for cases that don't have filing fees, we're definitely seeing 90 to 100 days or more for those receipt notice. So just exercise patience. It's frustrating for you. It's frustrating for all of us in the legal field as well. But this also happened right after COVID, where they were just basically taking cases or processing the cases that had filing fees quicker than any of the other ones. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay. Is it possible to do an I-751 with an incarcerated spouse? As long as you guys are still married, I mean, he's incarcerated, but do you have proof that that person is that it's a genuine marriage? Remember, the I-751 is just proving that you had a genuine marriage. So whether your spouse is in jail or not in jail, if you had a genuine marriage and you can provide proof, you can. Usually, if you do a joint filing, there are certain circumstances where you have like an exception, like a limited exception, if the spouse is incarcerated where they can't attend the interview. this would be one of those cases, as long as you bring like clear and convincing evidence and you have a good faith marriage. Now, if you and your spouse are divorced, or you're getting a divorce, or things are just not working out for you guys, then you have the options of a waiver. With an I-751, there's certain grounds in which you can waive the filing requirement of your spouse. One is death, one is divorce, one is extreme cruelty and battery, which is physical abuse, and the other is if you can show extreme hardship to you in your home country, if you left the country. If you were doing for 751s, if you were doing a waiver based on extreme cruelty and abuse, the standard of evidence is much higher than a valid case. So you really need to document your evidence, because their take on it is basically, you're a green card holder now. And so a lot of the things that scare immigrants who don't have a legal status from reporting or documenting, they don't feel that you should have that. So it's really, really important that you're documenting, or you have the ability to document whatever it is that has happened in your marriage once you get that green card. If a lot of the abuse that has taken place is not physical, you must get a psychological evaluation on an I-751. So not necessarily the same for a valid case, but for an I-751, you must do it. Guys, I'm so sorry. I have a hearing right now with the judge. I gotta go. So I will talk to you guys. Hopefully I will be on live next week. Guys, my schedules, I literally cannot anticipate my days anymore, because I am just so busy with stuff that requires me to get up and be in immigration or somewhere else. But I will talk to you guys on the other side. And, if I didn't answer your question, we'll definitely love to chat. Schedule a consultation, 407-995-6567 or 678-325-1037. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day. Bye.